Part 1 of Tristram and Iseult and Other Poems. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Tristram and Iseult by Matthew Arnold. Read by
Greg Giordano,
Agnes Robert Behr,
Adrian Stevens,
L.G. Pag,
and Alan Mapstone. Part 1 Tristram.
Is she not come? The messenger was sure. Prop me upon the pillows once again. Raise me, my page. This cannot long endure. Christ, what a night! How the sleet whips the pane! What lights will those out to the northward be?
the lanterns of the fishing boats at sea.
Soft! What is that stands by the dying fire?
Iseult,
Ah, not the Iseult I desire.
What night is this, so weak and pale? Though the locks are yet brown on his noble head, propped on pillows in his bed, gazing seaward for the light of some ship that fights the gale, on this wild December night. Over the sick man's feet is spread a dark green forest dress. A gold harp leans against the bed, ruddy in the fire's light. I know him by his harp of gold, famous in Arthur's court of old. I know him by his forest dress, the peerless hunter, harper knight, Tristram of Lyonesse. What lady is this whose silk attire gleams so rich in the light of the fire? The ringlets on her shoulders lying, in their flitting lustre vying with the clasp of burnished gold, which her heavy robe doth hold. Her looks are sweet, her fingers slight, as the driven snow are white, but her cheeks are sunk and pale. Is it that the bleak sea gale, beating from the Atlantic Sea on this coast of Brittany, nips too keenly the sweet flower? Is it that a deep fatigue hath come on her, a chilly fear, passing all her youthful hour, spinning with her maidens here, listlessly through the window bars, gazing seawards many a league, from her lonely shore-built tower, while the knights are at the wars? Or perhaps has her young heart felt already some deep smart of those that in secret the heartstrings rive, leaving her sunk and pale though fair? Who is this snowdrop by the sea? I know her by her mildness rare, her snow-white hands, her golden hair. I know her by her rich silk dress, and her fragile loveliness, the sweetest Christian soul alive, Iseult of Brittany. Iseult of Brittany? But where is that other Iseult fair, that proud first Iseult, Cornwall's queen? She whom Tristram's ship of yore from Ireland to Cornwall bore, to Tintagel to the side of King Mark to be his bride? She who, as they voyaged, quaffed with Tristram that spiced magic draught, which since them for ever rolls through their blood and binds their souls, working love, but working teen? There were two Iseults who did sway each her hour of Tristram's day. but one possessed his waning time, the other his resplendent prime. Behold her here, the patient flower, who possessed his darker hour. Iseult of the snow-white hand watches pale by Tristram's bed. She is here who had his gloom, where art thou who hadst his bloom? One such kiss as those of yore might thy dying night restore. Does the love draught work no more? Art thou cold, or false, or dead, Iseult of Ireland? Loud howls the wind, sharp patters the rain, and the knight sinks back on his pillows again. He is weak with fever and pain, and his spirit is not clear. Hark, he mutters in his sleep, as he wanders far from here, changes place and time of year, and his closed eye doth sweep o'er some fair unwintery sea, not this fierce Atlantic deep, while he mutters brokenly.
The calm sea shines, loose hang the vessel's sails. Before us are the sweet green fields of Wales, and overhead the cloudless sky of May.
Ah, would I were in those green fields at play, not pent on shipboard this delicious day. Tristram, I pray thee of thy courtesy, reach me my golden cup that stands by thee, but pledge me in it first, for courtesy.
Ha! Dost thou start? Are thy lips blanched like mine? Child, 'tis no true draught this, 'tis poisoned wine. Iseult.
Ah, sweet angels, let him dream, keep his eyelids, let him seem not this fever-wasted wight, thinned and paled before his time, but the brilliant youthful knight, in the glory of his prime, sitting in the gilded barge, at thy side, thou lovely charge, bending gaily o'er thy hand, Iseult of Ireland. And she too, that princess fair, if her bloom be now less rare, let her have her youth again, let her be as she was then. Let her have her proud dark eyes, and her petulant quick replies. Let her sweep her dazzling hand with its gesture of command, and shake back her raven hair with the old imperious air. As of old, so let her be, that first Iseult, princess bright, chatting with her youthful knight, as he steers her o'er the sea, quitting at her father's will the green isle where she was bred, and her bower in Ireland, for the surge-beat Cornish strand, where the prince whom she must wed dwells on loud Tintagel's hill, high above the sounding sea. And that phial rare her mother gave her, that her future lord gave her, that King Mark and she might drink it on their marriage day, and for ever love each other. Let her as she sits on board, ah, sweet saints, unwittingly, see it shine and take it up, and to Tristram laughing say, Sir Tristram, of thy courtesy, pledge me in my golden cup. let them drink it, let their hands tremble, and their cheeks be flame, as they feel the fatal bands of a love they dare not name, with a wild delicious pain, twine about their hearts again. Let the early summer be once more round them, and the sea, blue and o'er its mirror kind, let the breath of the May wind, wandering through their drooping sails, die on the green fields of Wales. Let a dream like this restore what his eye must see no more.
Chill blows the wind, the pleasaunce walks are drear. Madcap, what jest was this, to meet me here, where feet like those made for so wild a way, the southern winter parlour, by my fay, had been the likeliest trysting place to-day.
Tristram, nay, nay, thou must not take my hand. Tristram, sweet love, we are betrayed, outplanned. Fly, save thyself, save me. I dare not stay.
One last kiss first.
'Tis vain, to horse, away.
Ah, sweet saints, his dream doth move faster surely than it should, from the fever in his blood. All the springtime of his love is already gone and past, and instead thereof is seen its winter, which endureth still. Tintagel on its surge-beat hill, the pleasance walks the weeping queen, the flying leaves the straining blast, and that long wild kiss their last. And this rough December night, and his burning fever pain, mingle with his hurrying dream, till they rule it, till he seem the pressed fugitive again, the love desperate banished knight, with a fire in his brain, flying o'er the stormy main. Whither does he wander now? Haply in his dreams the wind wafts him here and lets him find the lovely orphan child again in her castle by the coast. The youngest fairest chatelaine that this realm of France can boast, our snowdrop by the Atlantic Sea, Iseult of Brittany. And, for through the haggard air, the stained arms, the matted hair of that stranger knight ill-starred, there gleamed something which recalled the Tristram who in better days was Lancelot's guest at Joyous Gard. Welcomed here and here installed, tended of his fever here, haply he seems again to move his young guardian's heart with love. In his exiled loneliness, in his stately deep distress, without a word, without a tear. Ah, 'tis well he should retrace his tranquil life in this lone place, his gentle bearing at the side of his timid youthful bride, his long rambles by the shore on winter evenings when the roar of the near waves came sadly grand through the dark up the drowned sand. Or his endless revelries in the woods where the gleams play on the grass under the trees, passing the long summer's day, idle as a mossy stone, in the forest depths alone, the chase neglected, and his hound crouched beside him on the ground. Ah, what troubles on his brow? Hither let him wander now, hither to the quiet hours, passed among these heaths of ours, by the grey Atlantic Sea. Hours, if not of ecstasy, from violent anguish surely free.
All red with blood the whirling river flows, the wide plain rings, the dazed air throbs with blows. Upon us are the chivalry of Rome, their spears are down, their steeds are bathed in foam. Up, Tristram, up, men cry, thou moonstruck knight! What foul fiend rides thee on into the fight? Above the din her voice is in my ears. I see her form glide through the crossing spears. Iseult!
Ah, he wanders forth again. We cannot keep him now as then. There's a secret in his breast which will never let him rest. These musing fits in the green wood, they cloud the brain, they dull the blood. His sword is sharp, his horse is good. Beyond the mountains will he see the famous towns of Italy, and label with the blessed sign the heathen Saxons on the Rhine. At Arthur's side he fights once more with the Roman Emperor. There's many a gay knight where he goes will help him to forget his care. The march, the leaguer, heaven's blithe air, the neighing steeds, the ringing blows, sick pining comes not where these are. Ah, what boots it that the jest lightens every other brow? What that every other breast dances as the trumpets blow? If one's own heart beats not light on the waves of the tossed fight, if oneself cannot get free from the clog of misery, thy lovely youthful wife grows pale, watching by the salt sea tide, with her children at her side, for the gleam of thy white sail. Home, Tristram, to thy halls again. To our lonely sea complain, to our forests tell thy pain.
All round the forest sweeps off blackened shade, but it is moonlight in the open glade, and in the bottom of the glade shine clear the forest chapel and the fountain near. I think I have a fever in my blood. Come, let me leave the shadow of this wood, ride down and bathe my hot brow in the flood. Mild shines the cold spring in the moon's clear light. God, 'tis her face plays in the waters bright. Fair love, she says, canst thou forget so soon, at this soft hour, under this sweet moon? Iseult!
Ah, poor soul, if this be so, only death can balm thy woe. The solitudes of the green wood had no medicine for thy mood. The rushing battle cleared thy blood as little as did solitude. Ah, his eyelids slowly break their hot seals, and let him wake. What new change shall we now see? A happier? Worse it cannot be.
Is my page here? Come, turn me to the fire. Upon the window panes the moon shines bright. The wind is down, but she'll not come to-night. Ah, no, she is asleep in Cornwall now. Far hence her dreams are fair, smooth is her brow. Of me she recks not, nor my vain desire. I have had dreams, my page, would take 100 years from a strong man's age, and with a blood like mine will leave, I fear, scant leisure for a second messenger. My princess, art thou there? Sweet, 'tis too late, to bed and sleep. My fever is gone by. To-night my page shall keep me company. Where do the children sleep? Kiss them for me. Poor child, thou art almost as pale as I. This comes of nursing long and watching late. To bed, good night.
She left the gleam-lit fireplace, she came to the bedside. She took his hands in hers, her tears down on her slender fingers rained. She raised her eyes upon his face, not with a look of wounded pride, a look as if the heart complained. Her look was like a sad embrace, the gaze of one who can divine a grief and sympathize. Sweet flower, thy children's eyes are not more innocent than thine, but they sleep in a sheltered rest, like helpless birds in the warm nest, on the castle's southern side, where feebly comes the mournful roar of buffeting wind and surging tide through many a room and corridor. Full on their window the moon's ray makes their chamber as bright as day. It shines upon the blank white walls, and on the snowy pillow falls, and on two angel heads doth play, turned to each other, the eyes closed, the lashes on the cheeks reposed. Round each sweet brow the cap close set hardly lets peep the golden hair. Through the soft opened lips the air scarcely moves the coverlet. One little wandering arm is thrown at random on the counterpane, and often the fingers close in haste, as if their baby owner chased the butterflies again. This stir they have, and this alone, but else they are so still. Ah, tired madcaps, you lie still. But were you at the window now, to look forth on the fairy sight of your illumined haunts by night, to see the park glades where you play, far lovelier than they are by day, to see the sparkle on the eaves, and upon every giant bough of those old oaks whose wet red leaves are jewelled with bright drops of rain, how would your voices run again? And far beyond the sparkling trees of the castle park one sees the bare heath spreading clear as day, more behind more, far, far away, into the heart of Brittany. And here and there, locked by the land, long inlets of smooth glittering sea, and many a stretch of watery sand, all shining in the white moonbeams, but you see fairer in your dreams. What voices are these on the clear night air? What lights in the court? What steps on the stair? End of part 1. Part 2 of Tristram and Iseult by Matthew Arnold. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Part 2, Iseult of Ireland.
Raise the light, my page, that I may see her. Thou art come at last, then, haughty queen. Long I've waited, long I've fought my fever. Late thou comest, cruel thou hast been.
Blame me not, poor sufferer, that I tarried. Bound I was, I could not break the band. Chide not with the past, but feel the present. I am here, we meet, I hold thy hand.
Thou art come indeed, thou hast rejoined me. Thou hast dared it, but too late to save. Fear not now that men should tax thine honor. I am dying. Build, thou mayest, my grave.
Tristram, for the love of heaven, speak kindly. Would I hear these bitter words from thee? Sick with grief I am, and faint with travel. Take my hand, dear Tristram, look on me.
I forgot, thou comest from thy voyage. Yes, the spray is on thy cloak and hair, but thy dark eyes are not dimmed, proud Iseult, and thy beauty never was more fair.
Ah, harsh flatterer, let alone my beauty. I, like thee, have left my youth afar. Take my hand, and touch these wasted fingers. See my cheek and lips, how white they are.
Thou art paler, but thy sweet charm, Iseult, would not fade with the dull years away. Ah, how fair thou standest in the moonlight! I forgive thee, Iseult. Thou wilt stay.
Fear me not. I will be always with thee. I will watch thee, tend thee, soothe thy pain, sing thee tales of true, long-parted lovers, joined at evening of their days again.
No, thou shalt not speak. I should be finding something altered in thy courtly tone. Sit by me. I will think. We've lived so in the green wood all our lives, alone.
Altered, Tristram, not in courts. Believe me, love like mine is altered in the breast. Courtly life is light, and cannot reach it. Ah, it lives, because so deep suppressed. What, thou thinkest men speak in courtly chambers, words by which the wretched are consoled? What, thou thinkest this aching brow was cooler, circled, Tristram, by a band of gold? Royal state with Mark, my deep-wronged husband, that was bliss to make my sorrows flee. Silken courtiers whispering honeyed nothings, those were friends to make me false to thee. Ah, on which, if both our lots were balanced, was indeed the heaviest burden thrown? Thee a pining exile in thy forest, me a smiling queen upon my throne. Vain and strange debate, for both have suffered, both have passed a youth repressed and sad, both have brought their anxious day to evening, and have now short space for being glad. Joined are we henceforth, nor will thy people, nor thy younger Iseult take it ill, that a former rival shares her office, when she sees her humbled, pale and still. I, a faded watcher by thy pillow, I, a statue on thy chapel floor, poured in prayer before the Virgin Mother, rouse no anger, make no rivals more. She will cry, is this the foe I dreaded? This his idol? This that royal bride? Ah, an hour of health would purge his eyesight. Stay, pale queen, forever by my side. Hush, no words. That smile, I see, forgives me. I am now thy nurse. I bid thee sleep. Close thine eyes. This flooding moonlight blinds them. Nay, all's well again. Thou must not weep.
I am happy, yet I feel there's something swells my heart and takes my breath away. Through a mist I see thee, near, come nearer, bend down, I yet have much to say.
Heaven, his head sinks back upon the pillow. Tristram, Tristram, let thy heart not fail. Call on God and on the holy angels. What? Love? Courage? Christ, he is so pale.
Hush, 'tis vain. I feel my end approaching. This is what my mother said should be when the fierce pains took her in the forest, the deep draughts of death then bearing me. Son, she said, thy name shall be of sorrow. Tristram art thou called for my death's sake. So she said, and died in the drear forest. Grief since then his home with me doth make. I am dying, start not, nor look wildly. Me, thy living friend, thou canst not save. But since living we were ununited, go not far, O Iseult, from my grave. Close mine eyes, then seek the Princess Iseult. Speak her fair, she is of royal blood. Say, I charged her that thou stay beside me. She will grant it. She is kind and good. Now to sail the seas of death I leave thee. One last kiss upon the living shore.
Tristram, Tristram, stay. Receive me with thee. Iseult leaves thee, Tristram, nevermore.
You see them clear, the moon shines bright. Slow, slow and softly, where she stood, she sinks upon the ground. Her hood had fallen back, her arms outspread still hold her lover's hands. Her head is bowed, half buried on the bed. O'er the blanched sheet her raven hair lies in disordered streams, and there, strung like white stars, the pearls still are, and the golden bracelets, heavy and rare, flash on her white arms still. The very same which yesternight flashed in the silver sconce's light, when the feast was gay and the laughter loud, in Tintagel's palace proud. But then they decked a restless ghost, with hot flushed cheeks and brilliant eyes, and quivering lips on which the tide of courtly speech abruptly died, and a glance which over the crowded floor the dancers and the festive host flew ever to the door, that the knights eyed her in surprise, and the dames whispered scoffingly. Her moods, good lack, they pass like showers, but yesternight and she would be as pale and still as withered flowers. And now tonight she laughs and speaks, and has a colour in her cheeks. Christ keep us from such fantasy. Yes, now the longing is o'erpast, which, dogged by fear and fought by shame, shook her weak bosom day and night, consumed her beauty like a flame, and dimmed it like the desert blast. And though the curtain hid her face, yet were it lifted to the light, the sweet expression of her brow would charm the gazer till his thought erased the ravages of time, filled up the hollow cheek, and brought a freshness back as of her prime. So healing is her quiet now, so perfectly the lines express a tranquil, settled loveliness, her younger rival's purest grace. The air of the December night steals coldly round the chamber bright, where those lifeless lovers be. Swinging with it in the light flaps the ghost-like tapestry, and on the arras wrought you see a stately huntsman clad in green, and round him a fresh forest scene. On that clear forest knoll he stays, with his pack round him, and delays. He stares and stares with troubled face at this huge gleam-lit fireplace, at that bright iron-figured door, and those blown rushes on the floor. He gazes down into the room with heated cheeks and flurried air, and to himself he seems to say,
"What place is this, and who are they? Who is that kneeling lady fair? And on his pillows that pale knight who seems of marble on a tomb? How comes it here, this chamber bright, through whose mullioned windows clear the castle court all wet with rain, the drawbridge and the moat appear, and then the beach, and marked with spray, the sunken reefs, and far away the unquiet bright Atlantic plain? What, has some glamour made me sleep, and sent me with my dogs to sweep, by night, with boisterous bugle peal, through some old seaside nightly hall, not in the free green wood at all? That night's asleep, and at her prayer that lady by the bed doth kneel. Then hush, thou boisterous bugle peal.
The wild boar rustles in his lair, the fierce hounds snuff the tainted air, but lord and hounds keep rooted there. Cheer, cheer thy dogs into the brake, O hunter, and without a fear thy golden tasselled bugle blow, and through the glades thy pastime take, for thou wilt rouse no sleepers here. For those thou seest are unmoved, cold, cold as those who lived and loved 1,000 years ago. End of part 2. Part 3 of Tristram and Iseult by Matthew Arnold. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Part 3, Iseult of Brittany. A year had flown, and o'er the sea away, in Cornwall Tristram and Queen Iseult lay, in King Mark's chapel in Tintagel old, there in a ship they bore those lovers cold. The young surviving Iseult one bright day had wandered forth. Her children were at play in a green circular hollow in the heath, which borders the sea shore. A country path creeps over it from the tilled fields behind. The hollow's grassy banks are soft inclined, and to one standing on them, far and near, the lone unbroken view spreads bright and clear over the waste. This cirque of open ground is light and green. The heather, which all round creeps thickly, grows not here, but the pale grass is strewn with rocks, and many a shivered mass of veined white gleaming quartz, and here and there dotted with holly trees and juniper. In the smooth centre of the opening stood 3 hollies side by side, and made a screen, warm with the winter sun of burnished green, with scarlet berries gemmed the Fellfare's food. Under the glittering hollies Iseult stands, watching her children play. Their little hands are busy gathering spars of quartz and streams of stag's horn for their hats. Anon with screams of mad delight they drop their spoils and bound among the holly clumps and broken ground, racing full speed, and startling in their rush the Fellfares and the speckled missel thrush out of their glossy coverts. But when now their cheeks were flushed, and over each hot brow, under the feathered hats of the sweet pair, in blinding masses showered the golden hair. Then Iseult called them to her, and the 3 clustered under the holly screen, and she told them an old world Breton history. Warm in their mantles wrapped the 3 stood there, under the hollies in the clear still air. Mantles with those rich furs deep glistening, which Venice ships do from swart Egypt bring. Long they stayed still, then, pacing at their ease, moved up and down under the glossy trees. But still, as they pursued their warm dry road, from Iseult's lips the unbroken story flowed, and still the children listened, their blue eyes fixed on their mother's face in wide surprise. Nor did their looks stray once to the seaside, nor to the brown heaths round them, bright and wide, nor to the snow, which, though 'twas all away from the open heath, still by the hedgerows lay, nor to the shining sea-fowl that with screams bore up from where the bright Atlantic gleams, swooping to landward, nor to where, quite clear, the Fellfares settled on the thickets near. And they would still have listened till dark night came keen and chill down on the heather bright. But when the red glow on the sea grew cold, and the grey turrets of the castle old looked sternly through the frosty evening air, then Iseult took by the hand those children fair, and brought her tale to an end, and found the path, and led them home over the darkening heath. And is she happy? Does she see unmoved the days in which she might have lived and loved, slip without bringing bliss slowly away, one after one, tomorrow like today? Joy has not found her yet, nor ever will. Is it this thought which makes her mien so still? Her features so fatigued, her eyes though sweet, so sunk, so rarely lifted, save to meet her children's? She moves slow, her voice alone hath yet an infantine and silver tone, but even that comes languidly. In truth, she seems one dying in a mask of youth. And now she will go home and softly lay her laughing children in their beds and play a while with them before they sleep. And then she'll light her silver lamp, which fishermen, dragging their nets through the rough waves afar, along this iron coast know like a star, and take her broidery frame, and there she'll sit, hour after hour, her gold curls sweeping it, lifting her soft-bent head only to mind her children or to listen to the wind. And when the clock peals midnight, she will move her work away and let her fingers rove across the shaggy brows of Tristram's hound, who lies guarding her feet along the ground. Or else she will fall musing, her blue eyes fixed, her slight hands clasped on her lap, then rise, and at her prie-dieu kneel until she have told her rosary beads of ebony tipped with gold, then to her soft sleep, and tomorrow will be today's exact repeated effigy. Yes, it is lonely for her in her hall. The children and the grey-haired seneschal, her women and Sir Tristram's aged hound, are there the sole companions to be found. But these she loves, and noisier life than this she would find ill to bear, weak as she is. She has her children too, and night and day is with them, and the wide heaths where they play, the hollies and the cliffs and the seashore, the sand, the seabirds and the distant sails, these are to her dear as to them, the tales with which this day the children she beguiled, she gleaned from Breton grandams when a child, in every hut along the sea-coast wild. She herself loves them still, and when they are told, can forget all to hear them as of old. Dear saints, it is not sorrow, as I hear, not suffering which shuts up eye and ear to all that has delighted them before, and lets us be what we were once no more. No, we may suffer deeply, yet retain power to be moved and soothed for all our pain by what of old pleased us and will again. No, 'tis the gradual furnace of the world, in whose hot air our spirits are upcurled, until they crumble, or else grow like steel, which kills in us the bloom, the youth, the spring, which leaves the fierce necessity to feel, but takes away the power. This can avail, by drying up our joy in everything, to make our former pleasures all seem stale. This, or some tyrannous single thought, some fit of passion, which subdues our souls to it, till for its sake alone we live and move. Call it ambition, or remorse, or love. This too can change us wholly, and make seem all which we did before shadow and dream. And yet I swear it angers me to see how this full passion gulls men potently, being in truth but a diseased unrest, and an unnatural overheat at best. How they are full of languor and distress, not having it, which when they do possess, they straightway are burnt up with fume and care, and spend their lives in posting here and there, where this plague drives them, and have little ease, are furious with themselves, and hard to please. Like that bald Caesar, the famed Roman wight, who wept at reading of a Grecian knight, who made a name at younger years than he. Or that renowned mirror of chivalry, Prince Alexander, Philip's peerless son, who carried the great war from Macedon into the Sudan's realm and thundered on, to die at 35 in Babylon. What tale did Iseult to the children say under the hollies that bright winter day? She told them of the fairy-haunted land, away the other side of Brittany, beyond the heaths edged by the lonely sea, of the deep forest glades of Broceliande, through whose green boughs the golden sunshine creeps, where Merlin by the enchanted thorn-tree sleeps. For here he came with the Fay Vivian one April, when the warm days first began. He was on foot, and that false Fay, his friend, on her white palfrey. Here he met his end, in these lone sylvan glades that April day. This tale of Merlin and the lovely Fay was the one Iseult chose, and she brought clear before the children's fancy him and her. Blowing between the stems, the forest air had loosened the brown locks of Vivian's hair, which played on her flushed cheek, and her blue eyes sparkled with mocking glee and exercise. Her palfrey's flanks were mired and bathed in sweat, for they had travelled far and not stopped yet. A briar in that tangled wilderness had scored her white right hand, which she allows to rest ungloved on her green riding dress. The other warded off the drooping boughs. But still she chatted on, with her blue eyes fixed full on Merlin's face, her stately prize. Her haviour had the morning's fresh clear grace, the spirit of the woods was in her face. She looked so witching fair that learned wight forgot his craft, and his best wits took flight, and he grew fond and eager to obey his mistress, use her empire as she may. They came to where the brushwood ceased, and day peered twixt the stems, and the ground broke away in a slope sward down to a brawling brook. And up as high as where they stood to look, on the brook's farther side was clear, but then the underwood and trees began again. This open glen was studded thick with thorns, then white with blossom, and you saw the horns, through last year's fern, of the shy fallow deer, who come at noon down to the water here. You saw the bright-eyed squirrels dart along, under the thorns on the green sward, and strong the blackbird whistled from the dingles near, and the weird chirping of the woodpecker rang lonely and sharp, the sky was fair, and a fresh breath of spring stirred everywhere. Merlin and Vivian stopped on the slope's brow, to gaze on the light sea of leaf and bough, which glistering plays all round them, lone and mild, as if to itself the quiet forest smiled. Upon the brow top grew a thorn, and here the grass was dry and mossed, and you saw clear across the hollow white anemones starred the cool turf, and clumps of primroses ran out from the dark underwood behind. No fairer resting place a man could find. "Here let us halt," said Merlin then, and she nodded and tied her palfrey to a tree. They sate them down together, and asleep fell upon Merlin, more like death, so deep. Her finger on her lip then Vivian rose, and from her brown-locked head the wimple throws, and takes it in her hand, and waves it over the blossomed thorn-tree and her sleeping lover. 9 times she waved the fluttering wimple round, and made a little plot of magic ground. And in that daisied circle, as men say, is Merlin prisoner till the judgment day. But she herself whither she will can rove, for she was passing weary of his love. End of part 3, read by Alan Mapstone in Oxford, England. Dover Beach by Matthew Arnold, read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. The sea is calm tonight. The tide is full, the moon lies fair upon the straits. On the French coast the light gleams and is gone. The cliffs of England stand, glimmering and vast, out in the tranquil bay. Come to the window, sweet is the night air. Only from the long line of spray, where the sea meets the moon-blanched land, listen. You hear the grating roar of pebbles which the waves draw back and fling at their return up the high strand, begin and cease, and then again begin, with tremulous cadence slow, and bring the eternal note of sadness in. Sophocles long ago heard it on the Aegean, and it brought into his mind the turbid ebb and flow of human misery. We find also in the sound a thought, hearing it by this distant northern sea. The sea of faith was once, too, at the full, and round earth's shore lay like the folds of a bright girdle furled. But now I only hear its melancholy long withdrawing roar, retreating to the breath of the night wind down the vast edges drear and naked shingles of the world. Ah, love, let us be true to one another, for the world, which seems to lie before us like a land of dreams, so various, so beautiful, so new, hath really neither joy, nor love, nor light, nor certitude, nor peace, nor help for pain. And we are here as on a darkling plain, swept with confused alarms of struggle and flight, where ignorant armies clash by night. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Thrysis by Matthew Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. A monody to commemorate the author's friend Arthur Hugh Clough, who died at Florence 1861. How changed is here each spot man makes or fills. In the two Hinkses nothing keeps the same. The village street its haunted mansion lacks, and from the sign is gone Sibylla's name. And from the roofs the twisted chimney stalks. Are ye too changed, ye hills? See, 'tis no foot of unfamiliar men to-night from Oxford up your pathway strays. Here came I often in old days, Thrysis and I. We still had Thrysis then. Runs it not here the track by Charlesworth Farm? Past the high wood to where the elm tree crowns the hill behind, whose ridge the sunset flames? The signal elm that looks on Isley's downs, the vale, the three lone weirs, the youthful Thames? This winter eve is warm, humid the air, leafless yet soft as spring, the tender purple spray on copse and briars. And that sweet city with her dreaming spires, she needs not June for beauty's heightening. Lovely all times she lies, lovely tonight. Only methinks some loss of habit's power befalls me wandering through this upland dim. Once passed I blindfold here at any hour. Now seldom come I, since I came with him. That single elm tree bright against the west, I miss it. Is it gone? We prized it dearly. While it stood, we said, our friend the gypsy scholar was not dead. While the tree lived, he in these fields lived on. Too rare grow now my visits here, but once I knew each field, each flower, each stick, and with the country folk acquaintance made, by barn in threshing time, by new-built rick. Here, too, our shepherd pipes we first essayed. Ah me, this many a year my pipe is lost, my shepherd's holiday. Needs must I lose them, needs with heavy heart, into the world and wave of men depart. But Thrysis of his own will went away. It irked him to be here, he could not rest. He loved each simple joy the country yields. He loved his mates, but yet he could not keep, for that a shadow lowered on the fields, here with the shepherd and the silly sheep. Some life of men unblessed, he knew, which made him droop and filled his head. He went, his piping took a troubled sound of storms that rage outside our happy ground. He could not wait their passing, he is dead. So, some tempestuous morn in early June, when the year's primal burst of bloom is o'er, before the roses and the longest day, when garden walks and all the grassy floor with blossoms red and white of fallen May, and chestnut flowers are strewn, so have I heard the cuckoo's parting cry from the wet field through the vexed garden trees, come with the volleying rain and tossing breeze. The bloom is gone, and with the bloom go I. Too quick, despairer, wherefore wilt thou go? Soon will the high midsummer pomps come on, soon will the musk carnations break and swell, soon shall we have gold-dusted snapdragon, sweet William and his homely cottage smell, and stocks in fragrance blow, roses that down the alleys shine afar, and open jasmine-muffled lattices, and groups under the dreaming garden trees, and the full moon, and the white evening star. He hearkens not, like comer he is flown. What matters it? Next year he will return, and we shall have him in the sweet spring days, with whitening hedges and uncrumpling fern, and bluebells trembling by the forest ways, and scent of hay new mown. But Thrysis never more we swains shall see him come back and cut a smoother reed, and blow a strain the world at last shall heed, for time, not Corydon, hath conquered thee. Alack for Corydon, no rival now, but when Sicilian shepherds lost a mate, some good survivor with his flute would go, piping a ditty sad for Bion's fate, and cross the unpermitted ferry's flow, and relax Pluto's brow, and make leap up with joy the beauteous head of Proserpine, among whose crowned hair are flowers first opened on Sicilian air, and flute his friend like Orpheus from the dead. O easy access to the hearer's grace, when Dorian shepherds sang to Proserpine, for she herself had trod Sicilian fields, she knew the Dorian waters gush divine, she knew each lily white which Enna yields, each rose with blushing face. She loved the Dorian pipe, the Dorian strain, but of our poor Thames she never heard. Her foot the Cumnor cowslips never stirred, and we should tease her with our plaint in vain. Well, wind dispersed and vain the words will be, yet, Thrysis, let me give my grief its hour in the old haunts, and find our tree-topped hill, who, if not I, for questing here hath power. I know the wood which hides the daffodil, I know the five-field tree, I know what white, what purple fritillaries the grassy harvest of the river fields, above by Ensham, down by Sandford yields, and what sedged brooks are Thames's tributaries. I know these slopes, who knows them if not I? But many a dingle on the loved hill side, with thorns once studded old white-blossomed trees, where thick the cowslips grew, and far descried high-towered the spikes of purple orchises, hath since our day put by the coronals of that forgotten time. Down each green bank hath gone the ploughboy's team, and only in the hidden brookside gleam primroses, orphans of the flowery prime. Where is the girl who by the boatman's door, above the locks, above the boating throng, unmoored our skiff when through the Whiteham flats, red loose strife and blonde meadow sweets among, and darting swallows and light water gnats, we tracked the shy Thames shore? Where are the mowers who, as the tiny swell of our boat passing heaved the river grass, stood with suspended scythe to see us pass? They all are gone, and thou art gone as well. Yes, thou art gone, and round me too the night in ever nearing circle weaves her shade. I see her veil draw soft across the day, I feel her slowly chilling breath invade the cheek grown thin, the brown hair sprent with grey. I feel her finger light laid pausefully upon life's headlong train, the foot less prompt to meet the morning dew, the heart less bounding at emotion new, and hope once crushed less quick to spring again. And long the way appears, which seems so short to the less practised eye of sanguine youth, and high the mountain tops in cloudy air, the mountain tops where is the throne of truth, tops in life's morning sun so bright and bare. Unbreachable, the fort of the long battered world uplifts its wall, and strange and vain the earthly turmoil grows, and near and real the charm of thy repose, and night as welcome as a friend would fall. But hush! The upland hath a sudden loss of quiet. Look! Adown the dusk hill side, a troop of Oxford hunters going home, as in old days, jovial and talking, ride. From hunting with the Berkshire hounds they come. Quick, let me fly and cross into yon farther field, 'tis done, and see, backed by the sunset which doth glorify the orange and pale violet evening sky, bear on its lonely ridge the tree, the tree. I take the omen. Eve lets down her veil, the white fog creeps from bush to bush about, the west unflushes, the high stars grow bright, and in the scattered farms the lights come out. I cannot reach the signal tree tonight, yet, happy omen, hail! Hear it from thy broad lucent Arno vale, for there thine earth-forgetting eyelids keep the morningless and unawakening sleep under the flowery oleanders pale. Hear it, O Thrysis, still our tree is there. Ah, vain! These English fields, this upland dim, these brambles pale with mist engarlanded, that lone sky-pointing tree are not for him. To a boon southern country he is fled, and now in happier air, wandering with the great mother's train divine, and purer or more subtle soul than thee, I trow, the mighty mother doth not see, within a folding of the Apennine. Thou hearest the immortal chants of old. putting his sickle to the perilous grain in the hot cornfield of the Phrygian king. For thee the Lityerses' song again young Daphnis with his silver voice doth sing. Sings his Sicilian fold, his sheep, his hapless love, his blinded eyes, and how a call celestial round him rang, and heavenward from the fountain brink he sprang, and all the marvel of the golden skies. There thou art gone, and me thou leavest here, soul in these fields. Yet will I not despair. Despair I will not, while I yet descry, 'neath the mild canopy of English air, that lonely tree against the western sky. Still these slopes, 'tis clear, our gypsy scholar haunts, outliving thee. Fields where soft sheep from cages pull the hay, woods with anemones in flower till May, know him a wanderer still, then why not me? A fugitive and gracious light he seeks, shy to illumine, and I seek it too. This does not come with houses or with gold, with place, with honour, and a flattering crew. 'Tis not in the world's market bought and sold, but the smooth slipping weeks drop by and leave its seeker still untired. Out of the heed of mortals he is gone, he wends unfollowed, he must house alone, yet on he fares, by his own heart inspired. Thou too, O Thrysis, on like quest wast bound. Thou wanderest with me for a little hour. Men gave thee nothing but this happy quest. If men esteemed thee feeble, gave thee power. If men procured thee trouble, gave thee rest. And this rude Cumnor ground, its fir-topped hurst, its farms, its quiet fields, here camest thou in thy jocund youthful time. Here was thine height of strength, thy golden prime. And still the haunt beloved of virtue yields. What though the music of thy rustic flute kept not for long its happy country tone, lost it too soon, and learnt a stormy note of men contention tossed, of men who groan, which tossed thy pipe too sore and tired thy throat? It failed, and thou wast mute. Yet hadst thou always visions of our light, and long with men of care thou couldst not stay. And soon thy foot resumed its wandering way, left human haunt, and on alone till night. Too rare grow now my visits here, 'mid city noise, not, as with thee of yore, Thyrsis, in reach of sheep bells is my home. Then through the great town's harsh, heart-wearying roar, let in thy voice a whisper often come, to chase fatigue and fear. Why faintest thou? I wandered till I died. Roam on, the light we sought is shining still. Dost thou ask proof? Our tree yet crowns the hill, our scholar travels yet the loved hillside. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Saint Brandan by Matthew Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by Yaron Bernstein. Saint Brandan sails the northern main. The brotherhoods of saints are glad. He greets them once, he sails again. So late, such storms, the saint is mad. He heard, across the howling seas, chime convent bells on wintry nights. He saw, on spray-swept Hebrides, twinkle the monastery lights. But north, still north, Saint Brandan steered, and now no bells, no convents more. The hurtling polar lights are neared, the sea without a human shore. At last it was the Christmas night, stars shone after a day of storm. He sees, float past, an iceberg white, and on it, Christ, a living form. That furtive mien, that scowling eye, of hair that red and tufted fell, it is, oh, where shall Brandan fly, the traitor Judas, out of hell? Palsied with terror, Brandan sate. The moon was bright, the iceberg near. He hears a voice, sigh humbly, "Wait! By high permission, I am here. 1 moment wait, thou holy man. On earth my crime, my death, they knew. My name is under all men's ban. Ah, tell them of my respite too. Tell them, one blessed Christmas night, it was the first after I came, breathing self-murder, frenzy, spite, to rue my guilt in endless flame. I felt, as I in torment lay, mid the souls plagued by heavenly power, an angel touch mine arm and say, Go hence and cool thyself an hour. Ah, whence this mercy, Lord? I said, The leper recollect, said he, who asked the passers-by for aid in Joppa and thy charity. Then I remembered how I went, in Joppa, through the public street, one morn, when the sirocco spent its storms of dust with burning heat. And in the street a leper sate, shivering with fever, naked, old. Sand raked his sores from heel to pate, the hot wind fevered him 5-fold. He gazed upon me as I passed, and murmured, Help me, or I die. To the poor wretch my cloak I cast, saw him look eased, and hurried by. Oh, Brandan, think what grace divine, what blessing must full goodness shower, when fragment of it small like mine hath such inestimable power. Well fed, well clothed, well friended I did that chance act of good, that one, then went my way to kill and lie. Forgot my good as soon as done. That germ of kindness in the womb of mercy caught did not expire, outlives my guilt, outlives my doom, and friends me in the pit of fire. Once every year, when carols wake on earth the Christmas night's repose, arising from the sinner's lake, I journey to these healing snows. I staunch with ice my burning breast, with silence balm my whirling brain. O Brandan, to this hour of rest, that Joppin leper's ease was pain. Tears started to Saint Brandan's eyes. He bowed his head, he breathed a prayer, then looked, and lo, the frosty skies, the iceberg, and no Judas there. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Neckan by Matthew Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by Agnes Robert Behr. In the summer on the headlands, the Baltic Sea along, sits Neckan with his harp of gold, and sings his plaintive song. Green rolls beneath the headlands, green rolls the Baltic Sea, and there below the Neckan's feet his wife and children be. He sings not of the ocean, its shells and roses pale. Of earth the Neckan sings, he hath no other tale. He sits upon the headlands, and sings a mournful stave of all he saw and felt on earth, far from the kind sea wave. Sings how a night he wandered by castle, field, and town, but earthly knights have harder hearts than the sea children own. Sings of his earthly bridal, priests, knights, and ladies gay, "And who art thou?" the priest began, "Sir knight, who wedd'st to-day?" "I am no knight," he answered, "from the sea waves I come." The knights drew sword, the ladies screamed, the surplice priest stood dumb. He sings how from the chapel he vanished with his bride, and bore her down to the sea-halls beneath the salt sea-tide. He sings how she sits weeping mid shells that round her lie. "False Neckan shares my bed," she weeps, "no Christian mate have I." He sings how through the billows he rose to earth again, and sought a priest to sign the cross that Neckan heaven might gain. He sings how on an evening beneath the birch trees cool he sate and played his harp of gold beside the river pool. Beside the pool sate Neckan, tears filled his mild blue eye. On his white mule across the bridge a cassocked priest rode by. "Why sittest thou there, O Neckan, and playest thy harp of gold? Sooner shall this my staff bear leaves than thou shalt heaven behold." But lo, the staff it budded, it greened, it branched, it waved. "O Ruth of God," the priest cried out, "this lost sea creature saved." The cassocked priest rode onwards, and vanished with his mule, but Neckan in the twilight grey wept by the river pool. He wept, "The earth hath kindness, the sea, the starry poles, earth, sea, and sky, and God above, but are not human souls." In summer on the headlands, the Baltic Sea along, sits Neckan with his harp of gold, and sings this plaintive song. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Forsaken Merman by Matthew Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by Yaron Bernstein. Come, dear children, let us away, down and away below. Now my brothers call from the bay, now the great winds shoreward blow. Now the salt tides seaward flow, now the wild white horses play, champ and chafe and toss in the spray. Children dear, let us away, this way, this way. Call her once before you go, call once yet, in a voice that she will know, Margaret, Margaret. Children's voices should be dear, call once more, to a mother's ear. Children's voices, wild with pain, surely she will come again. Call her once, and come away, this way, this way. Mother dear, we cannot stay, the wild white horses foam and fret. Margaret, Margaret, come, dear children, come away down, call no more. One last look at the white-walled town, and the little grey church on the windy shore. Then come down. She will not come though you call all day. Come away, come away. Children, dear, was it yesterday we heard the sweet bells over the bay? In the caverns where we lay, through the surf and through the swell, the far-off sound of a silver bell. Sand-strewn caverns, cool and deep, where the winds are all asleep, where the spent lights quiver and gleam, where the salt weed sways in the stream, where the sea beasts, ranged all around, feed in the ooze of their pasture ground, where the sea snakes coil and twine, dry their mail and bask in the brine, where the great whales come sailing by, sail and sail with unshut eye, round the world forever and aye. When did music come this way? Children dear, was it yesterday? Children dear, was it yesterday, call yet once, that she went away? Once she sate with you and me on a red gold throne in the heart of the sea, and the youngest sate on her knee. She combed its bright hair, and she tended it well. When down swung the sound of a far-off bell, she sighed, she looked up through the clear green sea. She said, I must go, for my kinsfolk pray in the little grey church on the shore today. 'Twill be Easter time in the world, ah me! and I lose my poor soul, merman, here with thee. I said, go up, dear heart, through the waves, say the prayer, and come back to the kind sea caves. She smiled, she went up through the surf in the bay. Children dear, was it yesterday? Children dear, were we long alone? The sea grows stormy, the little ones moan. Long prayers, I said, in the world they say. Come, I said, and we rose through the surf in the bay. We went up the beach by the sandy down, where the sea stalks bloom, to the white-walled town, through the narrow paved streets where all was still, to the little grey church on the windy hill. From the church came a murmur of folk at their prayers, but we stood without in the cold blowing airs. We climbed on the graves, on the stones worn with rains, and we gazed up the aisle through the small leaded panes. She sate by the pillar, we saw her clear. Margaret, hist, come quick, we are here. Dear heart, I said, we are long alone. The sea grows stormy, the little ones moan. But she gave me never a look, for her eyes were sealed to the holy book. Loud prays the priest, shut stands the door. Come away, children, call no more. Come away, come down, call no more. Down, 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 down to the depths of the sea. She sits at her wheel in the humming town, singing most joyfully. Hark what she sings, oh joy, for the humming streets and the child with its toy, for the priest and the bell and the holy well, for the wheel where I spun and the blessed light of the sun. And so she sings her fill, singing most joyfully, till the spindle drops from her hand and the whizzing wheel stands still. She steals to the window and looks at the sand, and over the sand at the sea, and her eyes are set in a stare, and anon there breaks a sigh, and anon there drops a tear from a sorrow-clouded eye, and a heart sorrow-laden, a long, long sigh, for the cold, strange eyes of a little mermaiden, and the gleam of her golden hair. Come away, away, children, come down. The hoarse wind blows colder, lights shine in the town. She will start from her slumber, when gusts shake the door. She will hear the winds howling, we'll hear the waves roar. We shall see, while above us, the waves roar and whirl, a ceiling of amber, a pavement of pearl, singing, here came a mortal, but faithless was she, and alone dwell forever the kings of the sea. But children, at midnight, when soft the winds blow, when clear falls the moonlight, when spring tides are low, when sweet airs come seaward from heaths starred with broom, and high rocks throw mildly on the blanched sands a gloom, up the still, glistening beaches, up the creeks we will hie, over banks of bright seaweed the ebb tide leaves dry. We will gaze from the sandhills at the white, sleeping town, at the church on the hillside, and then come back down, singing, there dwells a loved one, but cruel is she. She left lonely forever the kings of the sea. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Austerity of Poetry by Matthew Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. That son of Italy who tried to blow, ere Dante came, the trump of sacred song, in his light youth amid a festal throng, sate with his bride to see a public show. Fair was the bride, and on her front did glow youth like a star, and what to youth belong? Gay raiment, sparkling gauds, elation strong. A prop gave way. Crash fell a platform. Lo, mid struggling sufferers, hurt to death she lay. Shuddering, they drew her garments off, and found a robe of sackcloth next the smooth white skin. Such, poets, is your bride, the Muse, young, gay, radiant, adorned outside, a hidden ground of thought and of austerity within. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. East and West by Matthew Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. In the bare midst of Anglesey they showed two springs which close by one another play, and 1300 years agone, they say, two saints met often where those waters flow. One came from Penman westward, and a glow whitened his face from the sun's fronting ray. Eastward the other from the dying day, and he with unsunned face did always go. Cyriel the bright, Cybele the dark, men said. The seer from the east was then in light, the seer from the west was then in shade. Ah, now 'tis changed. In conquering sunshine bright, the man of the bold west now comes arrayed. He of the mystic east is touched with night.
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
East London by Matthew Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. 'Twas August, and the fierce sun overhead smote on the squalid streets of Bethnal Green, and the pale weaver, through his windows seen in Spitalfields, looked thrice dispirited. I met a preacher there I knew, and said, "Ill and o'erworked, how fare you in this scene?" "Bravely," said he, "for I of late have been much cheered with thoughts of Christ, the living bread." O human soul, as long as thou canst so set up a mark of everlasting light above the howling senses' ebb and flow, to cheer thee and to right thee if thou roam, not with lost toil thou labourest through the night, thou makest the heaven thou hopest indeed thy home.
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
West London by Matthew Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by Agnes Robert Behr. Crouched on the pavement, close by Belgrave Square, a tramp I saw, ill, moody, and tongue-tied. A babe was in her arms, and at her side a girl. Their clothes were rags, their feet were bare. Some labouring men, whose work lay somewhere there, passed opposite. She touched her girl, who hied across, and begged and came back satisfied. The rich she let pass with frozen stare. Thought I, above her state this spirit towers. She will not ask of aliens, but of friends, of showers in a common human fate. She turns from that cold succour which attends the unknown little from the unknowing great, and points us to a better time than ours. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Divinity by Matthew Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Yes, write it in the rock, St. Bernard said. Grave it on brass with adamantine pen. 'Tis God himself becomes apparent when God's wisdom and God's goodness are displayed. For God of these his attributes is made. Well spake the impetuous saint, and bore of men the suffrage captive. Now not 1 in 10 recalls the obscure opposer he outweighed. God's wisdom and God's goodness. Ay, but fools misdefine these, till God knows them no more. Wisdom and goodness, they are God. What schools have yet so much as heard this simpler lore? This no saint preaches, and this no church rules. 'Tis in the desert, now and heretofore. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Immortality by Matthew Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Foiled by our fellow men, depressed, outworn, we leave the brutal world to take its way. And patience, in another life, we say, the world shall be thrust down, and we upborne. And will not then the immortal armies scorn the world's poor, routed leavings? Or will they who failed under the heat of this life's day support the fervors of the heavenly morn? No, no, the energy of life may be kept on after the grave, but not begun. And he who flagged not in the earthly strife, from strength to strength advancing, only he, his soul well knit, and all his battles won, mounts, and that hardly, to eternal life. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Good Shepherd with the Kid by Matthew Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. He saves the sheep, the goats he doth not save. So rang Tertullian's sentence on the side of that unpitying Phrygian sect which cried, Him can no fount of fresh forgiveness lave, whose sins once washed by the baptismal wave. So spake the fierce Tertullian, but she sighed the infant church. Of love she felt the tide stream on her from her Lord's yet recent grave. And then she smiled, and in the catacombs with eyes suffused but heart inspired true, on those walls subterranean, where she hid her head mid ignominy, death, and tombs, she her good shepherd's hasty image drew, and on his shoulders, not a lamb, a kid. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Monica's Last Prayer by Matthew Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Ah, could thy grave at home at Carthage be! Care not for that, and lay me where I fall. Everywhere heard will be the judgment call, but at God's altar, oh, remember me. Thus Monica and died in Italy. Yet fervent had her longing been through all her course, for home at last and burial with her own husband by the Libyan sea. Had been, but at the end to her pure soul all tie with all beside seemed vain and cheap, and union before God the only care. Creeds pass, rites change, no altar standeth whole. Yet we her memory, as she prayed, will keep by this, life in God, and union there. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Cadmus and Harmonia by Matthew Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by Yaron Bernstein. Far, far from here, the Adriatic breaks in a warm bay. Among the green Illyrian hills, and there, the sunshine in the happy glens is fair, and by the sea and in the breaks, the grass is cool, the seaside air, buoyant and fresh, the mountain flowers, more virginal and sweet than ours. And there, they say, two bright and aged snakes, who once were Cadmus and Harmonia, bask in the glens, or on the warm sea shore, in breathless quiet after all their ills. Nor do they see their country, nor the place where the Sphinx lived among the frowning hills, nor the unhappy palace of their race, nor Thebes, nor Ismenos any more. There those two live, far in the Illyrian breaks. They had stayed long enough to see, in Thebes, the billow of calamity over their own dear children rolled, curse upon curse, pang upon pang, for years. They, sitting helpless in their home, a grey old man and woman, yet of old, the gods had to their marriage come, and at the banquet all the muses sang. Therefore They did not end their days in sight of blood, but were rapt far away to where the west wind plays, and murmurs of the Adriatic come to those untrodden mountain lawns, and there, placed safely in changed forms, the pair wholly forgot their first sad life and home and all that Theban woe, and stray forever through the glens, placid and dumb. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Apollo Musagetes by Matthew Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by Yaron Bernstein. Through the black, rushing smoke bursts, thick breaks the red flame. All Etna heaves fiercely her forest-clothed frame. Not here, O Apollo, are haunts meet for thee, but where Helicon breaks down in cliff to the sea, where the moon-silvered inlets send far their light voice up the still vale of Thisbe. O speed and rejoice! On the sward at the cliff-top lie strewn the white flocks, on the cliff-side the pigeons roost deep in the rocks. In the moonlight the shepherds, soft lulled by the rills, lie wrapped in their blankets, asleep on the hills. What forms are these coming so white through the gloom? What garments out-glistening the gold-flowered broom? What sweet-breathing presence out-perfumes the time? What voices in rapture the night's balmy prime? 'Tis Apollo comes leading his choir, the nine, the leaders fairest, but all are divine. They are lost in the hollows, they stream up again. What seeks on this mountain the glorified train? They bathe on this mountain in the spring by their road, then on to Olympus, their endless abode. Whose praise do they mention? Of what is it told? What will be forever, what was from of old? First hymned they the Father of all things, and then the rest of immortals, the actions of men. The day in his hotness, the strife with the palm, the night in her silence, the stars in their calm. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Urania by Matthew Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by Agnes Robert Behr. She smiles and will not sigh, while we for hopeless passion die. Yet she could love, those eyes declare, were men but nobler than they are. Eagerly once her gracious ken was turned upon the sons of men. What light the serious visage grew! She looked, and smiled, and saw them through. Our petty souls, our strutting wits, our laboured puny passion fits, ah, may she scorn them still, till we scorn them as bitterly as she. Yet show her once, ye heavenly powers, one of some worthier race than ours, one for whose sake she once might prove how deeply she who scorns can love. His eyes be like the starry lights, his voice like sounds of summer nights, and all his lovely mane let pierce the magic of the universe. And she to him will reach her hand, and gazing in his eyes will stand, and know her friend, and weep for glee, and cry, "Long, long I've looked for thee." Then will she weep, with smiles till then. Coldly she mocks the sons of men. Till then her lovely eyes maintain their pure, unwavering, deep disdain. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Euphrosyne by Matthew Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by Adrian Stevens. I must not say that she was true, yet let me say that she was fair, and they that lovely face who view, they should not ask if truth be there. Truth, what is truth? Two bleeding hearts, wounded by men, by fortune tried, outwearied with their lonely parts, vow to beat henceforth side by side. The world to them was stern and drear, their lot was but to weep and moan. Ah, let them keep their faith sincere, for neither could subsist alone. But souls whom some benignant breath hath charmed at birth from gloom and care, these ask no love, these plight no faith, for they are happy as they are. The world to them may homage make, and garlands for their forehead weave, and what the world can give, they take, but they bring more than they receive. They shine upon the world, their ears to one demand alone are coy. They will not give us love and tears, they bring us light and warmth and joy. On one she smiled, and he was blessed. She smiles, I'll swear, we make a din, but 'twas not love which heaved her breast. Fair child, it was the bliss within. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Lines written in Kensington Gardens by Matthew Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by Adrian Stevens. In this lone, open glade I lie, screened by deep boughs on either hand, and at its end, to stay the eye, those black-crowned, red-boled pine trees stand. Birds here make song, each bird has his, across the girdling city's hum. How green under the boughs it is, how thick the tremulous sheep cries come. Sometimes a child will cross the glade to take his nurse his broken toy. Sometimes a thrush flit overhead, deep in her unknown day's employ. Here, at my feet, what wonders pass, what endless active life is here, what blowing daisies, fragrant grass, an air-stirred forest, fresh and clear. Scarce fresher is the mountain sod, where the tired angler lies stretched out, and eased of basket and of rod, counts his day's spoil, the spotted trout. In the huge world which roars hard by, be others happy if they can, but in my helpless cradle I was breathed on by the rural Pan. I, on men's impious uproar hurled, think often as I hear them rave that peace has left the upper world, and now keeps only in the grave. Yet here is peace for ever new. When I who watch them am away, still all things in this glade go through the changes of their quiet day. Then to their happy rest they pass. The flowers upclose, the birds are fed, the night comes down upon the grass, the child sleeps warmly in his bed. Calm soul of all things, make it mine to feel amid the city's jar that there abides a peace of thine man did not make and cannot mar. The will to neither strive nor cry, the power to feel with others give. Calm me more, nor let me die before I have begun to live. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Scholar Gypsy by Matthew Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by Adrian Stevens. Go, for they call you, shepherd, from the hill. Go, shepherd, and untie the wattled coats. No longer leave thy wistful flock unfed, nor let thy bowling fellows wreck their throats, nor the cropped grasses shoot another head. But when the fields are still, and the tired men and dogs all gone to rest, and only the white sheep are sometimes seen, cross and recross the strips of moon-blanched green, come, shepherd, and again renew the quest. Here, where the reaper was at work of late, in his high field's dark corner, there he leaves his coat, his basket, and his earthen cruse, and in the sun all morning binds the sheaves. Then here at noon comes back his stores to use. Here will I sit and wait, while to my ear from uplands far away the bleating of the folded flocks is borne, with distant cries of reapers in the corn, all the live murmur of a summer's day. Screened is this nook o'er the high half-reaped field, and here till sundown shepherd will I be. Through the thick corn the scarlet poppies peep, and round green roots and yellowing stalks I see pale blue convolvulus in tendrils creep, and air-swept lindens yield their scent and rustle down their perfume showers of bloom on the bent grass where I am laid, and bower me from the August sun with shade, and the eye travels down to Oxford's towers. And near me on the grass lies Glanville's book. Come, let me read the oft-read tale again, the story of that Oxford scholar poor, of pregnant parts and quick inventive brain, who, tired of knocking at preferment's door, one summer morn forsook his friends and went to learn the gypsy lore, and roamed the world with that wild brotherhood, and came, as most men deemed, to little good, but came to Oxford and his friends no more. But once, years after, in the country lanes, 2 scholars whom at college erst he knew met him, and of his way of life inquired, whereat he answered that the gypsy crew, his mates, had arts to rule as they desired the workings of men's brains, and they can bind them to what thoughts they will. And I, he said, the secret of their art, when fully learned, will to the world impart, but it needs heaven-sent moments for this skill. This said, he left them, and returned no more, but rumours hung about the countryside that the lost scholar long was seen to stray, seen by rare glimpses, pensive and tongue-tied, in hat of antique shape and cloak of grey, the same the gypsies wore. Shepherds had met him on the Hurst in spring, at some lone ale-house in the Berkshire moors. On the warm ingle bench the smock-frocked boors had found him seated at their entering. But, mid their drink and clatter, he would fly, and I myself seem oft to know thy looks, and put the shepherd's wanderer on thy trace, and boys who in lone wheatfields scare the rooks. I ask if thou hast passed their quiet place, or in my boat I lie, moored to the cool bank in the summer heats, mid wide grass meadows which the sunshine fills, and watch the warm green muffled Cumnor hills, and wonder if thou hauntest their shy retreats. For most I know thou lov'st retired ground, thee at the ferry Oxford riders blithe, returning home on summer nights, have met, crossing the stripling Thames at Bablock Hythe, trailing in the cool stream thy fingers wet, as the punt's rope chops round, and leaning backward in a pensive dream, and fostering in thy lap a heap of flowers, plucked in shy fields and distant witchwood bowers, and thine eyes resting on the moonlit stream. And then they land, and thou art seen no more, maidens who from the distant hamlets come to dance round the Fifield elm in May. Oft through the darkening fields have seen thee roam, or cross a stile into the public way. Oft thou hast given them store of flowers, the frail-leaved white anemone, dark bluebells drenched with dews of summer eves, and purple orchises with spotted leaves, but none hath words she can report of thee. And above Godstow Bridge, when hay-time's here in June, and many a scythe in sunshine flames, men who through these wild fields of breezy grass, where black-winged swallows haunt the glittering Thames, to bathe in the abandoned Lasher pass, have oft passed thee near, sitting upon the river-bank o'ergrown, marked thine outlandish garb, thy figure spare, thy dark vague eyes and soft abstracted air, but when they came from bathing, thou wast gone. At some lone homestead in the Cumnor hills, where at her open door the housewife darns, thou hast been seen, or hanging on a gate, to watch the threshers in the mossy barns, children who early range these slopes and late for cresses from the rills, have known thee eyeing all an April day the springing pastures and the feeding kine, and marked thee when the stars come out and shine, through the long dewy grass move slow away. In autumn, on the skirts of Bagley Wood, where most the gypsies by the turf-edged way pitch their smoked tents, and every bush you see with scarlet patches tagged and shreds of grey, above the forest ground called Thessaly, the blackbird, picking food, sees thee, nor stops his meal, nor fears at all. So often has he known thee past him stray, wrapped, twirling in thy hand a withered spray, and waiting for the spark from heaven to fall. And once, in winter, on the causeway chill, where home through flooded fields foot travellers go, have I not passed thee on the wooden bridge, wrapped in thy cloak and battling with the snow, thy face towards Hinksey and its wintry ridge, and thou hast climbed the hill, and gained the white brow of the Cumnor range, turned once to watch, while thick the snowflakes fall, the line of festal light in Christchurch Hall, then sought thy straw in some sequestered grange. But, what? I dream. 200 years are flown since first thy story ran through Oxford halls, and the grave Glanville did the tale inscribe, that thou wert wandered from the studious walls to learn strange arts and join a gypsy tribe, and thou from earth art gone, long since, and in some quiet churchyard laid, some country nook, where o'er thy unknown grave tall grasses and white-flowering nettles wave under a dark red-fruited yew-tree's shade. No, no, thou hast not felt the lapse of hours, for what wears out the life of mortal men, 'tis that from change to change their being rolls, 'tis that repeated shocks again, exhaust the energy of strongest souls, and numb the elastic powers, till, having used our nerves with bliss and teen, and tired upon 1,000 schemes our wit, to the just pausing genius we remit our well-worn life, and are what we have been. Thou hast not lived, why shouldst thou perish so? Thou hadst one aim, one business, one desire, else wert thou long since numbered with the dead, else hadst thou spent like other men thy fire. The generations of thy peers are fled, and we ourselves shall go, but thou possessest an immortal lot, and we imagine thee exempt from age, and living as thou liv'dst on Glanfill's page, because thou hadst what we, alas, have not. For early didst thou leave the world, with powers fresh, undiverted to the world without, firm to their mark, not spent on other things, free from the sick fatigue, the languid doubt, which much to have tried, in much been baffled brings. Oh, life unlike to ours, who fluctuate idly without term or scope, of whom each strives, nor knows for what he strives, and each half lives 100 different lives, who wait like thee, but not like thee, in hope. Thou waitest for the spark from heaven, and we, light half-believers of our casual creeds, who never deeply felt nor clearly willed, whose insight never has borne fruit in deeds, whose vague resolves never have been fulfilled, for whom each year we see breeds new beginnings, disappointments new, who hesitate and falter life away, and lose tomorrow the ground won today. Do not we, wanderer, await it too? Yes, we await it, but it still delays, and then we suffer, and amongst us one who most has suffered takes dejectedly his seat upon the intellectual throne, and all his store of sad experience he lays bare of wretched days, tells us his misery's birth and growth and signs, and how the dying spark of hope was fed, and how the breast was soothed, and how the head, and all his hourly varied anodynes. This for our wisest, and we others pine, and wish the long unhappy dream would end, and waive all claim to bliss, and try to bear, with close-lipped patience for our only friend, sad patience, too near neighbour to despair, but none has hope like thine. Thou through the fields and through the woods dost stray, roaming the countryside, a truant boy, nursing thy project in unclouded joy, and every doubt long blown by time away. Oh, born in days when wits were fresh and clear, and life ran gaily as the sparkling Thames, before the strange disease of modern life, with its sick hurry, its divided aims, its heads o'ertaxed, its palsied hearts was rife. Fly hence our contact fear. Still fly, plunge deeper in the barring wood, averse as Dido did with gesture stern. From her false friend's approach in Hades turn, wave us away, and keep thy solitude. Still nursing the unconquerable hope, still clutching the inviolable shade, with a free onward impulse, brushing through by night the silvered branches of the glade. Far on the forest skirts, where none pursue, on some mild pastoral slope emerge, and resting on the moonlit pales, freshen thy flowers as in former years with dew, or listen with enchanted ears from the dark dingles to the nightingales. But fly our paths, our feverish contact fly, for strong the infection of our mental strife, which, though it gives no bliss, yet spoils for rest. And we should win thee from thy own fair life, like us distracted, and like us unblessed. Soon, soon, thy cheer would die. Thy hopes grow timorous, and unfixed thy powers, and thy clear aims be cross and shifting made, and then thy glad perennial youth would fade, and grow old at last, and die like ours. Then fly our greetings, fly our speech and smiles, as some grave Tyrian trader from the sea descried at sunrise an emerging prow, lifting the cool-haired creepers stealthily, the fringes of a southward-facing brow among the Aegean isles, and saw the merry Grecian coaster come, freighted with amber grapes and Chian wine, green bursting figs and tunnies steeped in brine, and knew the intruders on his ancient home, the young light-hearted masters of the waves, and snatched his rudder and shook out more sail, and day and night held on indignantly o'er the blue midland waters with the gale, betwixt the Syrtes and the soft Sicily, to where the Atlantic raves, outside the western straits and unbent sails, there where down cloudy cliffs through sheets of foam, shy traffickers, the dark Iberians, come, and on the beach undid his corded bales. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Calais Sands by Matthew Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. 1,000 knights have reined their steeds to watch this line of sand hills run along the never-silent strait to Calais glittering in the sun. To look toward Ardres' golden field, across this wide aerial plain, which glows as if the Middle Age were gorgeous upon earth again. Oh, that to share this famous scene I saw upon the open sand thy lovely presence at my side, thy shawl, thy look, thy smile, thy hand. How exquisite thy voice would come, my darling, on this lonely air! How sweetly would the fresh sea breeze shake loose some band of soft brown hair! And now my glance but once hath roved o'er Calais and its famous plain, to England's cliffs my gaze it turned, o'er the blue strait mine eyes I strain. Thou comest, yes, the vessel's cloud hangs dark upon the rolling sea. Oh, that yon seabird's wings were mine, to win one instant's glimpse of thee. I must not spring to grasp thy hand, to woo thy smile, to seek thine eye, but I may stand far off and gaze, and watch thee pass unconscious by, and spell thy looks and guess thy thoughts, mixed with the idlers on the pier. Ah, might I always rest unseen, so I might have thee always near. Tomorrow hurry through the fields of Flanders to the storied Rhine. Tonight those soft-fringed eyes shall close beneath one roof, my queen, with mine. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Stanzas from Carnac by Matthew Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. Far on its rocky knoll descried, St. Michael's Chapel cuts the sky. I climbed, beneath me bright and wide lay the lone coast of Brittany. Bright in the sunset, weird and still, it lay beside the Atlantic wave, as though the wizard Merlin's will yet charmed it from his forest grave. Behind me, on their grassy sweep, Bearded with lichen, scrawled and grey, the giant stones of Carnac sleep in the mild evening of the May. No priestly stern procession now streams through their rows of pillars old. No victims bleed, no druids bow. Sheep make the daisied aisles their fold. From bush to bush the cuckoo flies, the orchis red gleams everywhere. Gold firs with bloom in blossom vies, the bluebells perfume all the air. And o'er the glistening lonely land rise up all round the Christian spires. The church of Carnac by the strand catches the westering sun's last fires. And there, across the watery way, see low above the tide at flood, the sickle sweep of Quiberon Bay, whose beach once ran with loyal blood. And beyond that the Atlantic wide, all round no soul, no boat, no hail, but on the horizon's verge descried hangs, touched with light, one snowy sail. Ah, where is he who should have come where that far sail is passing now, past the Loire's mouth and by the foam of Finisterre's unquiet brow, home round into the English wave? He tarries where the rock of Spain Mediterranean waters lave. He enters not the Atlantic main. Oh, could he once have reached this air, freshened by plunging tides, by showers, have felt this breath he loved of fair, cool northern fields and grass and flowers. He longed for it, pressed on in vain. At the straits failed that spirit brave. The south was parent of his pain, the south is mistress of his grave. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Strayed Reveller by Matthew Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by
Banco, Shrimpfish,
and Alan Mapstone. The Portico of Circe's Palace. Evening. A youth, Circe.
Faster, faster, O Circe, goddess, let the wild, thronging train, the bright procession of eddying forms, sweep through my soul. Thou standest, smiling, down on me. Thy right arm, leaned up against the column there, props thy soft cheek. Thy left holds, hanging loosely, the deep cup, ivy cinctured, I held but now. Is it then evening? So soon? I see the night dews, clustered in thick beads, dim the agate brooch stones on thy white shoulder. The cool night wind, too, blows through the portico, stirs thy hair, goddess, waves thy white robe.
Whence art thou, sleeper?
When the white dawn first, through the rough fir planks of my hut, by the chestnuts, up at the valley head, came breaking, goddess! I sprang up, I threw round me my dappled fawn skin, passing out from the wet turf where they lay by the hut door. I snatched up my vine crown, my fir staff, all drenched in dew, came swift down to join the rout early gathered in the town, round the temple, Iacchus's white fane, on yonder hill. Quick I passed, following the woodcutter's cart track, down the dark valley. I saw, on my left, through the beeches, thy palace, goddess, smokeless, empty. Trembling I entered, beheld the court all silent, the lions sleeping, on the altar this bowl. I drank, goddess, and sank down here, sleeping, on the steps of thy portico.
Foolish boy, why tremblest thou? Thou lovest it then, my wine? Wouldst more of it? See how glows through the delicate flushed marble the red creaming liquor, strown with dark seeds. Drink then, I chide thee not, deny thee not my bowl. Come, stretch forth thy hand then, so, drink, drink again.
Thanks, gracious one. Ah, the sweet fumes again, more soft, ah me, more subtle winding than Pan's flute music. Faint, faint, ah me, again the sweet sleep.
Hist! Thou within there, come forth, Ulysses. Art tired with hunting? While we range the woodland, see what the day brings.
Ever new magic. Hast thou then lured hither, wonderful goddess, by thy art, the young languid-eyed Ampelus, Aeacus' darling, or some youth beloved of Pan and the nymphs? That he sits bending downward his white delicate neck to the ivy-wreathed marge of thy cup, the bright glancing vine leaves that crown his hair falling forward, mingling with the dark ivy plants, his fawn skin half untied, smeared with red wine stains? Who is he that he sits, overweighed by fumes of wine and sleep, so late in thy portico? What youth, goddess? What guest of gods or mortals?
Hist! He wakes. I lured him not hither, Ulysses. Nay, ask him.
Who speaks? Ah, who comes forth to thy side, goddess, from within? How shall I name him? This spare, dark-featured, quick-eyed stranger. Ah, and I see, too, his sailor's bonnet, his short coat, travel-tarnished, with one arm bare. Art thou not he, whom fame this long time rumours, the favoured guest of Circe, brought by the waves? Art thou he, stranger, the wise Ulysses, Laertes' son?
I am Ulysses, and thou too, sleeper? Thy voice is sweet. It may be thou hast followed through these islands some divine bard, by age taught many things, age and the muses, and heard him delighting the chiefs and people in the banquet, and learned his songs of gods and heroes, of war and arts, and peopled cities inland or built by the grey sea. If so, then hail. I honour and welcome thee.
The gods are happy. They turn on all sides their shining eyes, and see below them the earth and men. They see Tiresias, sitting, staff in hand, on the warm, grassy Aesopus bank, his robe drawn over his old, sightless head, revolving inly the doom of Thebes. They see the centaurs in the upper glens of Pelion, in the streams, where red-berried ashes fringe the clear brown shallow pools with streaming flanks, and heads reared proudly, snuffing the mountain wind. They see the Indian, drifting, knife in hand, his frail boat moored to a floating isle thick-matted, with large-leaved, low-creeping melon plants, and the dark cucumber he reaps and stows them, drifting, drifting, round him, round his green harvest plot, flow the cool lake waves, the mountains ring them. They see the Scythian on the wide steppe, unharnessing his wheeled house at noon. He tethers his beast down and makes his meal, mare's milk, and bread baked on the embers. All around, the boundless waving grass plains stretch thick-starred with saffron and the yellow hollyhock and flag-leaved iris flowers. Sitting in his cart, he makes his meal, before him, for long miles. Alive with bright green lizards and the springing bustard fowl, the track, a straight black line, furrows the rich soil. Here and there, clusters of lonely mounds, topped with rough-hewn, grey, rain-bleared statues overpeer the sunny waste. They see the ferry on the broad, clay-laden, lone Chorasmian stream, Therion, with snort and strain, 2 horses, strongly swimming, tow the ferry boat, with woven ropes to either bow, firm harnessed by the mane. A chief, with shout and shaken spear, stands at the prow, and guides them. But astern, the cowering merchants in long robes sit pale beside their wealth of silk bales and of balsam drops, of gold and ivory, of turquoise earth and amethyst, jasper and chalcedony, and milk-barred onyx stones. The loaded boat swings groaning in the yellow eddies. The gods behold them. They see the heroes sitting in the dark ship on the foamless, long-heaving, violet sea, at sunset nearing the happy islands. These things, Ulysses, the wise bards also behold and sing. But oh, what labour! O prince, what pain! They too can see Tiresias, but the gods, who give them vision, added this law, that they should bear too his groping blindness, his dark foreboding, his scorned white hairs, bear Hera's anger, through a life lengthened to 7 ages. They see the centaurs on Pelion, then they feel, they too, the maddening wine, swell their large veins to bursting in wild pain. They feel the biting spears of the grim Lapithae and Theseus drive crashing through their bones. They feel, high on a jutting rock in the red stream, Alcmena's dreadful son ply his bow. Such a price the gods exact for song, to become what we sing. They see the Indian on his mountain lake, but squalls make their skiff reel, and worms in the unkind spring have gnawn their melon harvest to the heart. They see the Scythian, but long frosts parch them in winter time on the bare steppe, till they too fade like grass. They crawl like shadows forth in spring. They see the merchants on the Oxus stream, but care must visit first them too, and make them pale. Whether, through whirling sand, a cloud of desert robber horse have burst upon their caravan, or greedy kings in the walled cities the way passes through, crush them with tolls or fever airs on some great river's marge, mown them down far from home. They see the heroes near harbour, but they share their lives and form a violent toil in Thebes, 7-gated Thebes, or Troy, or where the echoing oars of Argo first startled the unknown sea. The old Silenus came, lolling in the sunshine, from the dewy forest coverts, this way at noon, sitting by me, while his fawns, down at the waterside, sprinkled and smoothed his drooping garland. He told me these things. But I, Ulysses, sitting on the warm steps, looking over the valley all day long, have seen, without pain, without labour, sometimes a wild-haired Maenad, sometimes a fawn with torches, and sometimes, for a moment, passing through the dark stems, flowing robed, the beloved, the desired, the divine, beloved Iacchus. Ah, cool night wind, tremulous stars! Ah, glimmering water, fitful earth murmur, dreaming woods! Ah, golden-haired, strangely smiling goddess! And thou, proved, much enduring, wave-tossed, wanderer, who can stand still? Ye fade, ye swim, ye waver before me. The cup again! Faster, faster, O Circe, goddess, let the wild, thronging train, the bright procession of eddying forms, sweep through my soul.
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Memorial Verses by Matthew Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. April 1850. Goethe in Weimar sleeps, and Greece long since saw Byron's struggle cease. But one such death remained to come. The last poetic voice is dumb. We stand today by Wordsworth's tomb. When Byron's eyes were shut in death, we bowed our head and held our breath. He taught us little, but our soul had felt him like the thunder's roll. With shivering heart the strife we saw of passion with eternal law, and yet with reverential awe we watched the fount of fiery life, which served for that titanic strife. When Goethe's death was told, we said, sunk then is Europe's sagest head. Physician of the Iron Age, Goethe has done his pilgrimage. He took the suffering human race, he read each wound, each weakness clear, and struck his finger on the place, and said, thou ailest here and here. He looked on Europe's dying hour of fitful dream and feverish power. His eye plunged down the weltering strife, the turmoil of expiring life. He said, the end is everywhere, art still has truth, take refuge there. And he was happy if to know causes of things, and far below his feet to see the lurid flow of terror and insane distress, and headlong fate be happiness. And Wordsworth, ah, pale ghosts rejoice! For never has such soothing voice been to your shadowy world conveyed, since erst at morn some wandering shade heard the clear song of Orpheus come through Hades and the mournful gloom. Wordsworth has gone from us, and ye, ah, may ye feel his voice as we. He too upon a wintry clime had fallen, on this iron time of doubts, disputes, distractions, fears. He found us when the age had bound our souls in its benumbing round. He spoke, and loosed our heart in tears. He laid us as we lay at birth, on the cool flowery lap of earth. Smiles broke from us, and we had ease. The hills were round us, and the breeze went o'er the sunlit fields again. Our foreheads felt the wind and rain. Our youth returned, for there was shed on spirits that had long been dead, spirits dried up and closely furled, the freshness of the early world. Ah, since dark days still bring to light man's prudence and man's fiery might, time may restore us in his course Goethe's sage mind and Byron's force. But where will Europe's latter hour again find Wordsworth's healing power? Others will teach us how to dare, and against fear our breast to steel. Others will strengthen us to bear, but who will make us feel? The cloud of mortal destiny, others will front it fearlessly, but who like him will put it by? Keep fresh the grass upon his grave, O Rotha, with thy living wave. Sing him thy best, for few or none hears thy voice right, now he is gone. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. End of Tristram and Iseult and other poems by Matthew Arnold.